Hey everyone, it's Brano, and today I wanted to talk about stress and relief, which is a concept in many different aspects of life where kind of you do a stressful task and then you're given a bit of relief, you're given a break, and that break feels really, really good. And this is a common thing that you'll find in many different games. The idea of this video came up when I was playing Cult of the Lamb a couple of weeks ago, which is a pretty decent. I'm just gonna have some gameplay from YouTube on. It's pretty decent. It's a pretty decent game. I had fun playing it, but what it has is this cult building simulator aspect, and then it has a combat aspect, which I'm sure if I go down a tiny bit further. Let's get some combat. Yeah, so basically you've got a combat section and then you've got a cult building section. And what you would do is you would gather a bunch of resources while in the combat section to then help out your your cult building section, and these two gameplay loops would synergize with each other. But I have found that there is one aspect which I think really it doesn't synergize well with at all, and that is with stress and relief. So while this gameplay is going on, your cult is still functioning, and the issue with this is that while you are getting resources and your followers are gaining loyalty and all that, and you are getting more resources, they can also get sick. They can also get hungry. They can also get all these other problems. They can get very dissatisfied. And what you end up, and so what ends up happening is that you're always on a timer. You never want to take this combat section easy. After you beat a room, okay, cool, you're no longer fighting stuff, but you still got the stress that I have to keep on going because my cult is functioning, and I just got a warning message to telling me that one of my followers has gotten sick recently, and I need to complete this so I can then take care of that person, because if one person's sick, all the others get sick, which if you don't do it, it's a real pain in the or in the butt. So the best way to describe it, it's like coming home from a hard day of work only to find out that your dog's had violent diarrhea on the carpet. It's just super frustrating. It's not that enjoyable to deal with. And you're just asking for a break. And people have very different tolerances for stress and relief. So I felt that with Cult of the Lamb, the idea that I was never quite in a state where I didn't have to care about anything until after I took care of everything else in the cult. Yeah, I did find it a bit lame that when I was playing this game, it was just always on the back of my mind that I'm going to have to go back, I'm going to have to do a bunch of maintenance tasks after I'm done because my cult is getting unhappy for reasons that are completely outside of my control, but I got to progress through the combat, and yeah, I just found that to be a bad case of stress and relief where I don't think the mechanics really synergize particularly well together. But as I said earlier, people have very different tolerances for stress and relief. One of my favorite games of all time is The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. And this game has a timer. You can see down right there, where basically you're constantly on the clock and you have either 72 minutes or 3 hours, depending on the rate of time you choose, before the moon crashes into the world. So you're constantly having to do stuff. Now, I found that when you did the long version of the time, I felt that was plenty and I didn't feel like I was on the clock. And this is one of my favorite games of all time. But there's a lot of people who cannot stand any form of timer within any video game whatsoever. Their brain just begins to malfunction and they don't know really, I don't know, it's just something stops working for them. And I have found that if you got people like this, any time is a bad timer. And I've been getting a lot of feedback in my own game for Heal to Death. So one of the things I've got is in my dungeons, when you enter the procedurally generated version of that, the idea of it is that you want to get through this as quickly as possible to gain as much loot as possible to make sure that you have the best advantage of fighting the boss at the end of the game. And so you've got 5 minutes to get as much as you can done within this dungeon. You want to find the exit and you want to gain as much loot as possible. But the problem is, there are some people who just can't stand this. Now, if you run out of time, you get teleported to the boss room. It's not that bad of a deal. But the simple fact that there is a timer here stresses people out. I have seen a lot of feedback where I hate the timer, or people who say, like, dude, this game would be awesome, exactly what I want, but there's a timer, so I'm not going to buy it. Now, I have decided to add an option for these people, which is this time limit. Now, I've got a tooltip which says basically the intended value is 5 minutes. I want people to play with 5 minutes. This game is more fun when you play it with the 5 minute timer, because otherwise it's just kind of like a casual stroll in the pack. The trash packs are not particularly interesting unless you're doing them with some speed. This is the only way this game really works, and if you play it in another way, you kind of just, it gets boring pretty quickly. But there's a lot of people who want to play it like this. And so, if I go back to the main menu, because when you change it, it doesn't change the current run. If I go into the menu, options, and I change this to, like, I can extend this to 10 limits, just so, hey, if you wanted a timer but you just wanted more time, that's cool. But I also give you unlimited. So now when you go in here and you can go and play, you'll be able to play this game without having to worry about the timer. Now, this solves a lot of the stress and relief people, like, it solves a lot of the stress and relief issues that people who struggle with timers have. But the way that I was doing my game was basically to where, alright, when you are in this dungeon, yeah, you are on a timer and you have to play pretty efficiently during this 5 minutes that you have. Let's just pretend that that's still 5 minutes. You would have these shops though, and when you would enter these shops, the timer would stop. So basically, you would have a couple of different options for stress and relief during this game. So let's just get that there. Let's just kill this skeleton. Alright, cool. Now, when you enter the shop, the time would go green, and you would have time. So basically, during this 5 minute gameplay loop, your relief would be when you find a shop or when you get to the boss, because the boss rooms don't have a timer. And this would be the stress and relief. What this does now is make it so that anytime you're not in combat, so right now, I am in a relief position. But if I take on this simple pack, alright, cool, I'm in a stress position, even though it's not very stressful because it's a simple pack. Of course, I could choose an upgrade, and that's another period of relief. But basically, now I'm in relief again. But with the timer, I'm still in stress because the time is counting down. And yeah, some people want their break. They want a break every 15 to 20 seconds. Other people are totally fine. Anyway, I'm not particularly happy with this solution. I do think that the game plays way better with 5 minutes. But at the end of the day, I want as many people to enjoy my game as possible, and this is an aspect which it doesn't completely ruin the video game experience. I do think it makes it worse, but I've decided to give those people the compromise, which is if you really cannot stand the timer, you have the ability to turn it off. I don't think it makes the game better. But at the end of the day, this is not a game that I want to feel like an accomplishment game, like Dark Souls, where if I beat Dark Souls, I've got some gamer cred. I want this just to be a good, fun game that many people can enjoy. We've got enough. I think that the games that like are accomplishment based, where you beat it because and you feel like you're awesome, that's saturated now. When Dark Souls came out, it wasn't saturated. Having played a couple of AAA games from around that period of time, oh my god, they were so casual. There's a reason why Dark Souls was needed. At the moment, that period is saturated. So, allowing there to be a bit more stress and relief, I think, is worth it. And it's something that you should consider within the core of your design, but also potentially maybe you want to add some options that alleviate give people more relief if they really cannot stand it. Well, stand the lack of relief. So that's it for this video. I hope you had a good watch, and I'll see you next time.